All of a sudden, my husband wants to break up with me, divorce, so he wants me to go talk to his lawyer. Well, you know what? I wasn't really feeling our relationship anymore anyways. We were starting to fall apart and it's been going on for a while. Well, I start to go to his lawyer's office, and the second I get there, the lawyer looks me in the eyes and says, "Are you really his wife?" And when I said yes, his lawyer starts to shake. At the wedding altar, you stand before God, family, friends, foes, to pledge your life to someone for eternity. You have no idea what path life is that's going to take. All you can see in that moment are the stars in their eyes. Those stars, they paint rainbows in the sky, transforming rain that falls from the darkness. But those stars, they blind you with something whimsical so that you can never see the beast before you. It's been 6 years since I said I do. My voice was ringing with the crazy confidence that every naive person has. 6 years since I was that giddy young lady ready to take on the world. My husband and I against the world. 6 years, so short, yes, so long. And at least long enough for me to get rid of those stupid rose-tinted glasses and finally see my marriage for what it is. A broken mess. Its shards broken beyond repair like a wood toy or perhaps macarons. The more broken it gets, the more glue you use to repair it, and the more fixings it gets, the more it moves towards the extinct zone. In fact, the more you try to glue it, the more you harm it, because eventually the glue starts to weigh it down and makes it too heavy to take any more fixing. My husband Rob and I met when we were sophomores in the university, but we were not a couple then. We barely even spoke to each other back then, and truly it was not until 4 years after we graduated from the University of Penn that we reconnected and hit it off. Ours was a really cliche way, but sweet. It was cute. Perhaps that was why I expected that our marriage would end like those in a novel, with a perfectly happy ever after. After college, we met again at one of the common friends' weddings. Rob came to talk to me and we suddenly hit it off, and the punch in our hands only made things better because soon we were laughing so loud and making a fool of ourselves on the dance floor. After the wedding reception, I landed in his bed, and that was that. A start of something beautiful. At least that's what I thought. 3 months into our relationship, I moved in with him, and 6 months later, Rob proposed. That was the easiest yes I've ever given. Life as I knew it was perfect. Rob was the sweetest man under the sun, everything I'd ever dreamt of, and definitely the stuff romance novels were made of. Our first year as a married couple was bliss. It was our second year, trouble came knocking. We had always wanted kids, and I remember so many times we stayed up way into the night before we got married, daydreaming about how many kids that we would have, and who would resemble who. Rob wanted to have 12 kids, and we ended up getting none. Months after months, we failed. Months after months, Rob consoled me whenever the waterworks would turn on. Month after month, I tried everything just to make it work, but we could not conceive. It was in our 3rd year that Rob started drinking heavily, staying outside later than he used to. The first few times I confronted him, he was understanding, pleading with me to see that our childlessness was putting a strain upon him. But 3 months into our 3rd year, Rob changed. He became a snarling beast that sought to bite my head off whenever I dared to come near. No more excuses were given for his staying late, and you can bet your dollar that there was no more pleasing for me to understand his point of view. The loss of our dream of kids was the first crack in our marriage. But what caused those shards to shatter was when he started insulting me and blaming me for our lack of children. He would call my womb a dead nest, while accusations and hurtful insults became part of my everyday routine. In our 4th year, I sought to fix us. I could not let our marriage go down the drain just like that. I loved him and he loved me. We could make our marriage work again, and we were just stressed by the unexpected way our lives were turning out. And so I researched the different ways we could achieve our dream of having 6 children run in the house and presented to him. Adoption, surrogacy, IVF. I printed a 10-page expose on these options. He read it, and the light seemed to return to his eyes. Then he suggested that we both get tested. Relieved that I might be getting my husband, the Rob I fell in love with, back, so I agreed. The result was the hammer that absolutely demolished the charade of marriage that we had. One that had barely been held together because I was barren. I was the reason why we did not have children. Oh, Rob was livid. So livid he took out his anger on our furniture. By our 5th year, we were nothing more than strangers living under the same roof and sleeping in the same bed. Regardless, there was little hope within me that he could rediscover our youth, our love. And that hope was what kept me going. Cooking for him, doing his laundry, being a good wife. Little glue, trying to mend something that was long gone, but I was too delusional to admit, which is probably why I'm struggling with the decision he's forcing me to make. So 2 days ago, Rob served me divorce papers and then moved out. He didn't give me an address, but that doesn't stop me from trying to reach him. He refuses to talk to me, saying that if I wanted to reach him, I should do that through his lawyer. Half of me wants to sign the darn papers and tell him to go to hell, and the other half, the unreasonable half, wants to find a way to restore my marriage. And that's why I'm here, to plead for your advice. I mean, what would you do? Should I give this man the divorce that he's asking for and walk away from everything I hold dear? Or should I stand my ground and refuse to sign the papers, demanding instead that he be willing to work things out? Update number 1. Hey guys, it's been 3 days and I'm here. You would not believe the crazy thing that's happened since I shared my story. Before we get to that, I want to let you know that I've decided to give Rob what he's asking for. Yes, I've signed the papers. If a divorce is what Rob wants, then a divorce is what Rob's going to get. You all were right. Rob is no longer the man I married. This is not the marriage that I started in, and if I chose to be foolish enough to ignore it, I would be breaking no one's heart. Save mine. I just want to say that I'm so grateful for the responses I got. Your advice gave me the courage and strength to do what I needed to do. I'd be lying if I said my heart is not crushed or that I'm not fighting tears as I write this. But I think that it's because, finally, I can grieve the loss of my marriage as well as the woman who got lost in the course of the past 6 years. I can finally let the tears run over how messy my marriage has crashed. I can finally look back to our dating days in the first year of our marriage and see them for what they were. The good old days and nothing more. I can finally admit to myself that there was not an absolute way that the younger me would have known the kind of monster Rob would have turned out to be later in life. And finally, forgive myself. And I can finally get started on this path they call healing. Now to the crazy thing that happened yesterday after signing the divorce papers. I made my way to Rob's lawyer's office to submit the papers so that I could finally move on with my life. Rob's lawyer, Ted, has a very pleasing face. The typical neighbor next door kind of dude, and when he spoke, his voice had a comforting lift to it that I was immediately set to ease by. I reasoned that perhaps, with the kind of person I was perceiving Ted to be, this divorce would not be a messy affair. But that is until he asked who I was, and I replied I was here concerning the divorce Rob was filing for. Apparently, that was not clear enough for Ted because he asked if I was the wife or the lawyer of the wife. When I replied that yes, I'm the wife, the strangest thing happened. Ted starts shaking. Not a quiver of a finger that believed nervousness, but a full-blown shaking of his entirety of his body. He even knocked down his cup of coffee, staining the carpet and himself, and to be honest, I felt bad for the poor man, and I don't even know what I'm pitying him for. When I asked if he was okay, the man stammered that he was. Only God knows what has caused that man to be so rattled. I know that I have enough problems of my own to deal with, but I can't stop curiosity from rearing its ugly head. Everything in me wants to return to Ted's office and determine that he should fess up. Yet I think that it would be better for everyone if I just walk away till the divorce is finalized. Is there more to find out? You tell me. Update number 2. Hey guys. It's been 4 days since my last update, and I'm sure that you're wondering what I ended up doing. In the end, curiosity won. I returned to Ted's office yesterday, and when he saw me, his eyes popped out at the coffee on his table. It was in danger of being wasted once, but again, luckily, I saved it from its quick demise. He asked why I was back so soon or if something was wrong. After thinking 10 ways about how to ask him, I finally blurted out, "Why were you rattled in our first meeting?" He tilted his head to the side and studied me pensively. After a few minutes of silence, he asked if I really did not remember, and of course I didn't remember. Remember what? I did not know him and had never met him until Rob's filing for divorce brought us together. Or so I thought. As it turned out, I had met him before this hullabaloo, and with Rob and all, and in a way I could say I knew him. It happened in the second year of Rob and my marriage. As you know, I was going through a lot during that time. It's safe to say that I was not okay emotionally and mentally during that time in my marriage. I remember it very vividly. It had been one of those days when it seemed like the house and my failure wanted to swallow me whole. Whatever that happened, I always found something to distract myself. That day, it was the park. So there I was, sitting in the park watching happy families complete with a bunch of kids. Having fun. It was beautiful to watch, but it was also a stark reminder of everything I did not have. The very thing that I had run away from the house for. I called myself all kinds of foolish names, but I could not make myself stand up or walk away. Despite how hurtful it was to watch others enjoy what I could not, it still brought that much-needed calm to my soul. Thank gosh I chose to stay. For a few minutes after deciding to stay, a little girl almost had an accident. Some foolish cyclist had decided to have an impromptu race. About 15 of them. I did not mind them until I saw that precious girl was walking in their way. Looking only at who knows what on the grass, frantically I searched for her parents. Surely somebody brought her here to the park. Why wasn't he or she watching and paying mind to this girl? But I did not have time to search for or call her parents because the cyclists were getting close, and that silly girl did not look up. Whatever she was fascinated with, it had her attention. Jumping up from the bench, I ran and snatched her away, just as the 5 bicycles zoomed past us. What if I had not been there? What if I could not save her? This precious girl that, if the universe had been aligned differently, could have been mine. That was when the anger came. What kind of irresponsible parents allowed their children to just wander off? In my anger, I wrote a note to her parents admonishing them to pay better attention to their kid. I returned her to her playmates and did not stop watching over until a man came to her. A man that she called Daddy. A man who, by the way, crazy little twist of fate, is Rob's lawyer. Ted went on to say that he owes me his life, because if not because of my, notes, he would not have found the strength to climb out of the dark hole that he was in just 4 years ago. Do you know what that means, guys? I can use his gratefulness to my advantage, get him to give me the better end of the deal, convince me to let me in on a certain thing like where Rob was hiding or why Rob is hell-bent on the divorce. You might call me all shades of a fool to consider such, but I deserve to have closure, don't I? Update number 3. Hello guys, it's me again, and it's been 6 days since I discovered that I actually knew my husband's lawyer, or should I say ex-husband. Despite the advice not to, I went to see Ted to ask, that he help me with Rob. Perhaps you're all right and I'm being foolish. Setting myself up to be let down and hurt by the truth is that I need to know, huh? After giving that man 6 years of my life, I deserve some darn explanation. It's not like I'm trying to find a way to get him back into my life. I admit that what Rob and I had will no longer be, and I'm okay with it, but after everything I've invested in that marriage, I did not deserve to be walked out on without so much as an explanation. Most likely, the answers I would get would break me, but I'd already factored that in and was ready to take whatever I find as is. So 2 days ago, I went once again to see Ted. I reminded him of what he had told me a few days ago, that he owed him his life. Then I let him know that if he wanted to repay my good deed, he should help me get answers concerning Rob. About that lawyer's integrity. Ted replied that unfortunately he could not betray his client's confidentiality. It's not like I wanted him to betray his client's confidentiality, not exactly. I just wanted him to throw me something, anything. no matter how much I begged, pleaded for his sense of right and wrong, and tried to make him see through my point of view, the stalwart refused to budge. Not even to meet me in the middle, and I know you're probably like, it was a sign that I was never meant to know. And at that point I agreed, especially when, as I stood up to let myself out, Ted softly told me that the only thing I needed to know was that I was better off without Rob. When I asked him what he meant by that, he went on to say that Rob was determined to not stay married to me, and nothing I sought to know would change that. I knew what he said was true. I knew my marriage was defeated and there was no resurrection for it, but he did not know that. He thought I still wanted Rob, so I asked him back how he would feel if someone had invested his time, money, and emotions, words, thoughts, and love for as long as I have, and Rob suddenly just got up and walked out of his life without being honorable enough to give an explanation. I asked him if he would just settle without never knowing, not even trying to understand the why. I did not wait for an answer from him, I just walked out, realizing and coming to terms with the fact that I may have to settle with never knowing why it's so easy for Rob to walk away from our marriage without a backward glance. Apparently, my questions made an impression on Ted. Yesterday, he called me and said that he was calling as a friend, and not Rob's lawyer, after exchanging pleasantries, and he finally went to the reason for his call. He wanted to tell me why Rob is dead set against remaining married to me. As it turns out, Rob has been cheating on me, according to Ted. Rob's extramarital affairs had been going on for far too long, and he's finally tired of pretending to me and playing house with me. In a way, the news did not come as really a shock. It made sense. All the times that he stayed out late, he had to have been spending it somewhere, with someone. And then there's the fact that before Rob and I got married, my friend had mentioned to me that Rob was not the settling type. However, I thought that if he was in love with me, he would change. Guess I'm the one that ended up the fool. I'm glad to know, in a way, no. Nobody liked to know that she had been lied to and cheated on. But in a bigger way, yes. Yes, I'm glad that I finally know. Well, did I cry? Yes, I cried for years. I thought Rob was mine. But he wasn't. I cried for the disillusioned me that had just gotten more disillusioned. I cried for not seeing what my friend was talking about fast enough to avoid the nightmare my marriage became. Now that I know all of these, my next dilemma is what do I do next? Because, well, how do I say this? Rob must pay. Update number 4. Hey guys, these past 3 days have been the worst, craziest, overwhelming, distraught, humiliating, I don't know what adjective to pick. In all honesty, all of the above describes what I've been through these past few days. Yesterday, Ted came to see me and I was surprised to see him. We were not exactly friends because after his call I had believed that would be the last I would see him, at least until the divorce is finalized, and that would be an official capacity. I asked him what brought him to my house, and his answer was not something that I've been expecting. Not even in a million years. He told me that after I left, he had a hunch. A crazy, bizarre feeling that made him look deep into Rob and my marriage. A little digging here and a little unsuspecting questions there, and he had all the facts that would upend my whole world and turn everything that I had always believed about my marriage on its head. Remember when I told you that Rob and I always wanted children, and how I'm the one to blame that we have none? Well, Ted revealed to me that that was a lie. I was not the one who was at fault. Rob was the one who couldn't have babies. Ted was talking with Rob yesterday morning when Tom randomly asked Rob if he was not scared of fathering so many children with the number of women that he slept with. Ted told me that Rob had laughed and made a coarse joke about him never being more grateful for an inability in his life. Just for clarity's sake, Ted had asked him if he could never father any children. Rob laughed and went on to say that the greatest joke was that he had convinced me to believe that I was the reason why he didn't have children. In Rob's words, "That fool of a woman almost cried herself to an early demise." I'm the fool. My heartbreak, tears, and struggles were all jokes to the man I thought loved me. I asked Ted if he knew that Rob had taken me to the hospital to get us tested. Ted nodded grimly and went on to explain that the doctor we had seen was a man who would do anything for the right price, including falsifying medical reports. Guys, I've lived over 2 years of my life based on a lie, and that's not even the worst of it. Ted discovered that Rob never planned on getting married. But then he gets curious because all his friends were claiming it was the secret to happiness. And so he had decided to try his hand at marriage. 6 years of my life? An experiment to satiate a man's curiosity. I've been burning with outrage since yesterday. I want to make Rob pay. He has to pay for the torment that he made me go through. Some of you might claim that it's not worth it, that revenge never satisfies like we think it should. I don't care. Rob cannot go scot-free. I admit that I can choose to walk away, doing nothing, just moving on with my life, but if you were in my shoes, what would you do? Update number 5. Hey guys, it's me. This is going to be the final update, so it's been a while, but I'm here. First of all, I want to say a huge thank you to everybody who supported me throughout all this. Words can't express how much your support meant, and still means to me. Ted, along with a couple of you, agreed with me that Rob deserved revenge, and so together with Ted, I came up with the perfect payback. Ted informed Rob that he would like to see the both of us, and Rob, obviously thinking that the divorce had been finalized, shows up for the meeting. Guys, would you believe that when I arrived, Rob did not even spare me a glance? Not even a hello made it past his lips. And it was not a surprise, considering that I was nothing more than, well, nothing. Once I took my seat, Ted handed him the duly signed divorce papers. Just as Rob collected it and rose to take his leave, Ted announced to him that I was charging him to court on the account of forgery of medical reports and domestic violence, and then Ted went on to tell Rob that he would be representing me. Guys, you should have seen the look on Rob's face. His eyes were about to pop out of their sockets, and immediately Rob starts blubbering and buffing, claiming that I had no grounds to accuse him and that no court would give us the time of day. When that did not move us, Rob accused Ted of betraying the client's confidentiality. Unruffled, Ted calmly pointed out the things that Rob confessed to him were never under the client's confidentiality, for it was in no way related to the divorce. 4 days ago, Rob was brought to the court and then charged to make monetary restitution for the damages that he caused to me, as well as relinquishing his rights to all the properties that we owned together. Then he was placed under a restraining order. All the money in his account can never make up for those 6 years that I wasted on him, but I have a satisfaction that Rob did not walk away without facing any consequences. Just imagine if I had not pushed for answers, how ignorant I would have remained while Rob would walk away thinking how well he played me. Ted has really been helpful as I pick up the pieces of my life. I know what you're thinking, and you're correct. He is attracted to me, and I would be lying if I said I did not find him attractive. He's a widower who was brave enough to turn his life around to give his daughter the life that she deserved. To me, that's the hottest thing on earth. But even still, I'm in no hurry to enter into a new relationship. You'll tell me that I deserve to find true love, and you're right, and I'm open to the relationship with Teddy. I just want to do things differently than I did with Rob. For starters, there would be no physical intimacy until I get to really know him. And definitely not before marriage. A man of honor is a man who honors a woman enough to do right by her. I can't afford to settle for less, not after what I've been through. Thankfully, well, Ted is understanding, and he's willing to take what is between us one day at a time. Lastly, I just want to thank you guys for making it this far.